We're going to have a call to order and the roll call, please.
It was like
Nancy Kupka.
round 4
Present.
or 5.
Mike Davenport.
Present.
Darrell Fuller.
Present.
Dan Nicholas.
Present.
Terry Pavicic.
Here.
Rick Pavanato.
Here.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Present.
Haley Grubich.
Here.
And Ariel Johnson.
Here. We have a quorum. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you.
Anytime.
First, we need approval of the minutes for July 15th, 2019 business meeting and August 5th, 2019 special workshop meeting.
So moved.
Michael and Terry.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Terry Pavicic.
Aye.
Darrell Fuller.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't here. Okay, the meeting agenda includes, carries, thank you. The meeting agenda includes 2 opportunities for comments from the audience. The first reception of visitors is intended for audience members to address the board about any agenda item on which the board will vote. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board? Hearing none, we'll move on to the recommendations and reports of the superintendent, the 2019-20 goals.
All right, so these have been presented a couple of times to the board digitally. They were presented to the staff on opening day last week, where we really focused on how goals impact and our mission impact our work. I've heard no significant changes, a couple grammatical tightening up of some things over the last couple of weeks, but otherwise, just waiting for the board to approve those tonight and take any other questions that there are, last minute ideas, before we approve those later.
Anything anyone wants to bring up? Hearing none, we'll move on to the concussion oversight team.
This is a requirement under board policy 7.3 protocol. Within that protocol is the official approval of the oversight team. The memo links who these folks are, but they tend to be the categories of athletic directors, assistant principals, nurses, and athletic trainers at each of the buildings. So these are approved each year by the board under that policy.
Okay, discussion? Just FYI, because I know, Dan, you brought up a question, we actually predated, we had our concussion policy in place before it was a requirement. Just saying. Okay, master facility plan.
Master facility plan. All right. 2 things that weren't in the board packet that showed up late this afternoon. I let the board know, but you might not have seen it in your email. I know you're just sitting around waiting for me to send you stuff. But this morning we had a budget update, and the long and short of it is not much has changed since last month when we provided a budget update. We're still trending at that about $7.5 million of contingency, which might tick up a little bit as we close out each of the subcontractor accounts from the summer work, because there's allowances in there for work that we know won't be done. You know, it was just in case kind of contingency inside of those bids. So as those close up, we will probably add a little bit more in contingency. And then we're already starting to bid out work for Phase B, and actually a little bit of Phase C is already in there. So as those come in, we'll get a better idea of where the numbers actually sit. But the picture is we're still holding a contingency that we expected, and we're still on budget. So, and we are about 40% through the bidding at this point, 35, 40, Jim?
A little more than that one.
Okay. So we have a lot will come in over the next couple of weeks on Phase B, and then we hope to have all of Phase C out for bidding before the new year.
Wow.
So Hank, at what point do we as a board or as administration need to make the decision with the $7.5 million contingency as we're moving rapidly into Phase B and Phase C? Are there projects that can be dovetailed into B and C for that contingency? At what point do we have to make those decisions?
So as we finish the design process for each of the phases, there will be projects that make sense to tag along. A good example of this was the one we brought the board this summer, which was the front steps at North High, right? Just the the quote that came in for concrete made it, eventually they were going to have to be repaired and replaced. Just made sense to do it at that time along with all of our other projects. And it looks great, by the way.
Yeah, it does. It does look
So
real good.
as those design phases, each one gets wrapped up, if there's projects that make sense or along with the bidding that makes sense, we'll first bring those to the core committee for a recommendation to bring them to the board. And then if it's recommended, we'll take it to the board for approval for those additional projects. So there'll be design going on here pretty much all fall. Then there'll be some bid openings this fall for B. And then the next set of bids will be after the first of the year. By then, we should have a pretty good idea of where we sit. Then there'll still be contingency held because stuff can happen. You know, we're going to be opening up a 90-year-old building to, you know, put in a commons in it. So we'll want to hold back that, assuming that, you know, that's what it's there for, you know. And then somewhere, I would assume near the end of the 2021 school year or sometime around the beginning of the 21-22 school year, we'll have to, hopefully we'll still have contingency left and have some decisions to make as to what we do with that at that point.
Thank you.
We've started some foundation work, right, at South for the addition.
Both at, well, at South, they started putting in the underpinnings for the new foundation in the Fine Arts Science Wing.
Right.
So that's been going on, and they wanted to get that done before school started because it's a lot of loud drilling and, Ed, are they done with that?
They may have a couple more days, but they're close.
They're close, okay. So that's getting, as Ed said, getting close. At North, it's really the demolition of the old the custodial maintenance group kind of area and a couple of classrooms there from the 1928 building to put in the gym. They'll start some of those pilings and foundation after that's all torn down in that area. Right now, what they're doing is some soil testing, especially at South, for actually the auditorium, which is still a whole year away for us, but just making sure that everything they're planning to do with foundation work there is ready to go.
Yeah, I think once we get into the ground and get past any potential surprises there, and then some of the demolition work and get into the structure, I think we'll feel more comfortable about, yeah, right. But until those things happen.
Well, this year, we opened up a field and found a
That's right.
wastewater line running through it that nobody knew was there, so.
My experience has just been, it's once you're out of the ground and you've kind of opened things up enough, then you start to feel better about things. And then on my drive over along Norfolk, I noticed a huge pond of water
Yes.
at the new driveway right there. So I don't know if there's something we're going to need to do with that or not.
Just look at baskets in drains,
Okay.
so that's part of the reason.
Okay.
Once those go out from debris, then it should clear up. We did get a soaking very quickly. Once they pull those baskets, it should be good.
Those soaking very quick rains are becoming a normal. So,
Right, should have started with normal soak.
Yeah, once they're done with the landscaping over there and we don't have as much dust rolling around, should be good there.
Did you guys have any questions or feedback about the buildings now that you're sort of kind of back?
I mean, from my experience, everything looks pretty nice. I know a lot of my friends like our new, I don't know what to call it, like the front, when you walk through the new entrance and like the offices right there, I know a lot of people think it looks really nice in there, like with the counselors and everything. And then also personally, I'm in one of the new culinary rooms and it looks really nice in there too.
Yeah. It's really
I'm not sure
cool.
that, is North as far along as South? I don't.
It's different.
Yeah, it's different
Different.
because it's going from west to east. So a lot of the north area is the custodial maintenance group area and our life skills classrooms. So our low incident, high special needs student areas of the building. So It's not really into the area that a lot of students would interact with it yet. Come next year, though, when it's all cafeteria and serving area and everything else in library, it'll really be felt at North.
Yeah.
This year was really setting up in a gym.
Yes, I was going to mention, yeah,
And a gym, by the way.
that was actually really, they did a lot there, a lot.
So this year is really the setting up for the big feel.
Yeah.
Each year at North, it gets bigger, and South is all over the place all 3 years.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you. Okay, anything else on the,
one other thing, Tony, could you pull up the other document? Jill and the communication team in White put this one together. Just a big picture timeline that we put up on our website today. So just so the general public can kind of see where the big phases are and the major projects inside each of those spaces. So it's just a little clearer to the public what's happening in White.
Yeah, this is nice.
So that's it for the master facility plan. Otherwise, we were able to open school and we're moving along.
great. And have we had some freedom of information
Oh,
requests?
yeah.
And we've answered them all.
And we answered them, and they're all listed on our website.
Okay, we're going to move along to the consent agenda. Before we get to the consent agenda, I would just like to take a moment. One of the items in the consent agenda is the acceptance of a donation from the Bonfield Express. And once again, Bonfield Express has donated $5,000 to North and $5,000 to South. And we would be remiss if we just didn't take a moment and thank them, because it's generosity from our community that really is heartfelt. And
This on top of the scholarships. that
on
they
top of
do
the scholarships,
every
yeah.
year.
And the work of the foundation, so
Yeah.
we're very, very appreciative. So in that, we do need a motion for the Board of Education to approve the consent agenda as, is there anything anybody wants to take out of the consent agenda? Hearing none. Motion for the Board of Education to approve the consent agenda as presented, which includes the personnel report, appointments exempt, contract adjustment certified, appointments classified, B, personnel report, resignations classified, C, financial pages, D, approval of the concussion oversight team 2019-2020, and E, acceptance of the donation from the Bonfield Express.
So moved. Oh, go ahead.
Terry and Joanne.
Which one? Doesn't matter.
Terry was first.
Terry Pavasich.
My left ear's better than my right.
Joanna
I
Vasquez.
second.
Okay. Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Thank you. Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
Thank you. Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye, the consent agenda carries. Now we're going to move on to the recommendation for action. The first being the, where is it? I've lost it. Oh, thank you. Where you put blue. Sorry. We need a motion for the Board of Education to approve the 2019-20 district goals as presented.
So moved.
Second motion. Mike, Joanne.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye. The district goals are approved, and they're wonderful things. Thank you. Finally, we need the approval to hold the September 9th, 2019 Board of Education workshop entirely in closed session for the purpose of self-evaluation, practices and procedures, or professional ethics when meeting with a representative of a statewide association of which the district is a member.
So moved.
Second.
Mike and Dan, I think.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler. Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Carries. So the September 9th meeting will be in full closed session. Anything else to bring up?
So Nancy, the only other thing, just wanted congratulations to you for the presentation down at getting our resolution approved, so nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our resolution. I was a little perturbed because we had to soften the language from required to urge, but we will, we're going to work on that. So thank you, Dan. I'd like to give a shout out to the city of Downers Grove. They've dropped the speed limit in front of North. They've put new signs up in front of South. We've got, on both campuses, we've got kind of warnings, schools in session, be careful. I know the decals are down. There's still miles to go before we sleep, but it's a start. And Downers Grove has been a wonderful partner, so thank you, Downers Grove. Policy Committee report, first reading. Anybody have any comments on the Policy Committee, for the Policy Committee?
I'll just point out, most of the changes in here are not super significant. The change in communications to and from the board is some things around our open session that come in line with some settled lawsuits, I believe, is what really made those changes. A couple of the financial ones.
Not with our district.
Not with our district, just, I think, in the state of Illinois. The financial ones are to match up with our practices with the bonds and to carry some best practices there. The notice of non-discrimination expectation of a safe school environment are taken from some of the requirements from the Office of Civil Rights and some of the best practices that we expect will happen in our school district. It's our own district policy that we've written and are asking the board to adopt that as policy rather than just recommendations from the Office of the Superintendent, so that it would be the law and the rules of the district. So, as always, this is the first reading, so if you have any questions about any of these suggestions, concerns, you can reach out to Dan, Nancy, or I.
Rick, Nancy, or I, or you.
Sorry, Rick, Nancy, and I. Dan, you're X-policy. You can reach out to Dan.
Your moment to shine is coming up.
You can reach out to Dan, but he'll send you to one of us three. And then they'll be up for approval next month.
Ask a quick question about that last one. So was that written, or was there any input from our attorney
Oh, absolutely.
on that? Okay, so that language is coming from them?
Well, it's in cooperation with our attorneys. So Gina and I spent a lot of time with the attorneys last year, both our legal counsel, Shelley, but also some of their other experts around Title IX and OCR, Office of Civil Rights, to make sure that that language encapsulated everything that falls under those topics.
Much more inclusive.
I'm just curious that press doesn't have something like this.
It's interesting because the OCR recommendations that we received last year are United States federal law, and press really focuses on Illinois state law. So what we found through that audit was that the press policies contained all of the things that Illinois requires, but left out that fall under the federal mandates. So certain things like just that we have to send out this notice to all of our students and families is not in the Illinois law, but it's in the federal law, and it's never been it's a gap that's in press. No school in DuPage County that went through this audit had this as a practice. So it's a gap somewhere in the requirements that was pointed out, so we're going to close that gap with our own policy.
To be clear, it was always in our procedures, just wasn't in our...
No, the notice of non-discrimination was not in our procedures.
All right.
And that was one of the findings from the audit last year. There's a lot of things about non-discrimination already in our policies, and actually this policy, like many policies, points to those specific policies that are in it, but it was never in one place, nor was it a notice that we mailed home to families.
All right.
It was available on our website, but we didn't push it to them. Now, as a result of that audit, we took the non-discrimination pieces, but then we paired with it our own expectation of a safe environment, just with the
Deep equity. And
equity work and the focus on safety and all of those things. We want to be very clear to our families about this. And I would imagine within the next year, this will get changed to some extent, because by July 1st, 2020, there's a requirement to take our sexual harassment policy and to put it in appropriate language for a high school student. And that's a state law that passed, so that exercise will go on over the course of this year. So I imagine that somewhere in this will be a link to that policy or that language as well.
All right.
So this will be an ongoing, I think, document that will get changed quite frequently, a policy that we'll review often, as we do with our policies that are not press policies, right? We always go back to those on a frequent basis.
And it would be helpful for you guys to make sure you review those policies to see if it's understandable to you, because, you get into policy geek talk. And
The lawyers take over.
the lawyers take over. So that would be very helpful to the board as members of the board, if you guys could do that. Thank
So
you.
we'll see this again, the second meeting in September then, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, a month from now.
Yeah.
But I would ask you, if you have any questions or concern, to try to get
Yeah,
back
I
to
need
one
to
of us
know
within
this.
2 weeks
These
before,
policies. Okay.
in case we need to have another meeting to change anything.
Okay.
I mean, if it's not substantive, if it's like a, a comma or a word, but if it's something really substantive, we need either pull it or come back together.
And, yeah, so we'll continue with our practice with that. We'll, at the beginning of each semester, we need to send this out to all of our families. So within the next couple of weeks, once school gets settled in, we'll mail home our notice of non-discrimination, expectation of a safe environment communication. But in the meantime, we'd like to start working on getting this to be an actual policy.
Okay, anything else? Well, this is the second reception of visitors, which is intended for audience members to address the board on any topic pertaining to the district. Does anybody would like to address the board? Hearing none, communications and announcements. Here's your chance, Dan. Anything to report on Lund?
No meetings.
Meetings? Okay. Joanne, anything from SACID?
And nothing to report. We had a 5-minute meeting and we all went home and that was it.
That's
the best kind.
That's a new thing for
couldn't believe
SACID.
it.
That's a new thing for SACID. Sure, now that I'm off of it.
Yeah, now then.
Terry, the 99 Foundation?
The only thing I have is that the teachers will be getting the email for the first learning grants of the year are due Friday, September 6th. So if any teachers want to put in for that, that would be great. And we are still looking for board members. So if anybody has the desire to become a member of the foundation, they can contact Julia Beckman at D99 Foundation and the gmail.com.
Thanks, Tara. Do you have anything on IASB, Mike?
Fall meeting for DuPage Division is October 30th. Let Julie know if you want to attend.
That's my daughter's
It's
29th
what?
birthday.
Okay. All right. Upcoming board meeting, September 9th. We, the board, will meet here at 6:30 p.m. for a closed session, so y'all have the night off.
That's for board self-evaluation.
Board self-evaluation.
With the Illinois Association of School Boards leading it. Yep.
And for September 16th, we'll have a regular business meeting at 6:30 at the Administrative Service Center.
That Thursday before.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Mike moved. Sherelle seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Enjoy your evening.